Hello students, in this lecture I am going to discuss one of the measurement technique of blood pressure, although I have already shared the PDF in your WhatsApp group regarding this measurement of blood pressure. So basically blood pressure can be measured either we have indirect methods or we have direct methods. So it can be measured either indirectly or can be directly. Even in indirect methods we have manual and automated methods also. So everything is explained in that PDF. So from that PDF only I am explaining just one of the method here, that is the auscultatory method, or you can say the sphygmomanometer method. So this sphygmomanometer method is used for the measurement of blood pressure. So this blood pressure, it is one of the physiological variable that can be readily measured, and it tells you about the status of the cardiovascular system. So what happens if you measure the blood pressure, it will save not individual, it will save persons from unexpected death, because many a times a person is suffering from high blood pressure but he doesn't know about it. So if a person measures the blood pressure, he can be saved from unexpected death by providing warning of this dangerously high blood pressure in time. Moreover, this sphygmomanometer, it is easy to use and it can be automated. Here I will be discussing about the manual method, but it can also be automated also. It can be used in automated way also. And one of the disadvantages of this sphygmomanometer is that it cannot give you the continuous recording of the blood pressure. It only gives at that instant the systolic and the diastolic pressures. So the continuous recording of blood pressure is possible through the direct methods that you can study from the PDFs that I have given you. So here in this sphygmomanometer method, what we need a stethoscope. As you can see here, we need a stethoscope for measuring the blood pressure through sphygmomanometer. We need a stethoscope, and then this sphygmomanometer, it is having a pressure cuff, inflatable pressure cuff. This is an inflatable pressure cuff. That is, if you blow air into this, it will get inflated. And then this sphygmomanometer has a mercury manometer. This is the mercury manometer, and then this mercury manometer is used to measure the pressure in the cuff. So whatever pressure is there in the cuff, it is used to measure this mercury manometer is used to measure the pressure in the cuff. And then this cuff has a rubber bladder inside an inelastic fabric covering. You might have seen, you all might have gone to the hospital, and at some point of time you might have seen this sphygmomanometer that is used by the doctors for measuring the blood pressure. They will wrap certain thing around your arm, then they will blow air into that cuff, and then they will measure the blood pressure. So that thing only here I am going to discuss how it is used. So this is the inflatable pressure cuff. This is the mercury manometer, and then we have this hooks or fastener in this fabric covering of the pressure cuff, which is used for wrapping this cuff around the arm of a patient. And then we have this rubber bulb which is used for inflating this pressure cuff. And then there is a needle valve also present. This needle valve, you can say this is the needle valve present here, which is used for deflating the pressure cuff, deflating this pressure cuff. Now I hope the components are clear. Now what happens, this rubber bag, or you can say this inflatable rubber bag or inflatable pressure cuff is encircled around a patient's arm, and by pumping through this rubber valve, the pressure in the bag is rapidly raised to a pressure pump, to a certain degree, which is sufficient to wipe out completely the brachial artery so that no blood goes through it, and the radial pulse also disappears. What happens through this rubber valve? It is used for inflating this pressure cuff, and it inflates the pressure cuff up to the extent that no blood goes through the brachial artery. You can see here the brachial artery is also shown. no blood goes through the brachial artery, and you do not get a pulse here. Now what happens after reaching that point? The pressure is then lowered through this needle valve. The needle valve is disclosed, and the pressure valve and the pressure in this cuff is lowered to a point where the pulse can be felt, where you will be able to start feeling the pulse, where the pulse can be felt, and you can say where the turbulence is generated in the blood as it pushes as it goes through this tiny arterial brachial artery opening. The brachial artery, which was initially wiped out and no blood was initially able to go through it because of the pressure of this pressure cuff, now on the release of the pressure from the pressure cuff, what will happen? The blood will start flowing through this brachial artery, and because of this tiny opening, because it has not been deflated completely, the pressure cuff is not deflated completely, because it is still inflated, a tiny opening will get there in the brachial artery, and the blood will flow down through this tiny opening, and a turbulence will get generated, and you will be able to hear a sound. That sound is called Korotkoff sound. That sound is called Korotkoff sound, and the pulsation of the brachial artery will also occur at the bend of the elbow, which can be distinctly heard. So at this point, the pressure that the mercury manometer will show is considered to be the systolic pressure. It is considered to be the systolic pressure, and its range is from 100 mm of Hg to 140 mm of Hg. Now what will happen if you keep on releasing the pressure in the cuff is then gradually released until what happened, the heart sounds or the arterial pulse beats cannot be distinctly heard or felt. So at that point which the sound begins to fade, initially you will be able to hear the Korotkoff sound because you are deflating the pressure cuff. Now if you keep on deflating the pressure cuff, the sound will begin to disappear, and that pressure which the mercury manometer at which the sound begins to disappear, it gets faded, or you can say that the heart sound or the arterial pulse beats cannot be distinctly heard, cannot be discriminated, then that pressure is the diastolic pressure. So this method of locating the systolic and diastolic pressure by listening to Korotkoff sound is called the auscultatory method. It is called the auscultatory method. The systolic and diastolic pressure can also be identified by identifying the flow of blood in the artery by feeling the pulse of the patient downstream from the cuff. So this method is called palpatory method. So what happens in palpatory method? In palpatory method, the systolic and diastolic pressure it is obtained by identifying the flow of blood in the artery. How? That is by if you feel the pulse of the patient downstream from the cuff. So that is the palpatory method. But most appropriate is the auscultatory method, where you locate or where you identify the systolic and diastolic pressure by listening to this Korotkoff sound. So this is how this sphygmomanometer is used for the measurement of blood pressure. And this diastolic, so this diastolic pressure, its range is approximately 60 mm of Hg in young adults, whereas systolic pressure is from 110 to 125 mg. So this was all about sphygmomanometer. Rest of the methods, they are all theoretical. If you have any doubt regarding any of the methods, you can tell me. I can make a video on that topic also. Otherwise, I have provided the PDF, and they can be well understood. Okay, thank you. I'm ending the lecture here.